there have been sort of a couple of areas of comment and obviously some intersection between them. One group just saying we're really sorry that this happened and leaving it at that. The others saying we're sorry that this happened, but really, why on earth was the South African Navy doing an exercise at this time when the seas had been as high as they had been over the springtide cold front weekend? Surely it was dangerous. And the third category was, well, what do you expect? This is the South African Navy. It's part of the South African National Defence Force. Inevitably, they are going to be incompetent and it is going to lead to deaths. Somebody who knows more than most about what goes on is Arne Soderland, who joins us now. Ex-Navy, retired as a Rear Admiral from the Navy and still keeps a very keen interest, holds a Navy museum in his home in Simonstown. Arne, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, John.
You told me in an email earlier today that you were washed off the deck of a submarine, nearly 50 years ago, during a training exercise, probably not too different from what was happening yesterday.
Actually, John, it was in 1977, and it was actually off the deck of a strike craft.
Okay.
But I used it to illustrate the fact that the sea is completely unpredictable. In my case, I had a safety line on. I went over the sides, but my buffer, who was a very strong man, had grabbed me and helped pull me back on board. So I survived quite happily, but it shows you that the sea is unpredictable. I was at night. And if I'd gone in, I don't think I would have survived either.
I'm sure you still are in contact with people at the Navy base in Simonstown. What's your sense of the wisdom of the exercise that was conducted yesterday?
John, as I can't speak for them, but I understand much of the fate of the sea, etc. And I think the Navy has so little time to go to sea because of the lack of funding for fuel and things like that, that they take use of every minute they can to better themselves and to train. The submariners are the best trained people in the Navy. I have no doubt about that. This wasn't a submarine exercise particularly. The VERTREPs are done by all ships, and it's something they have to get in. They were able to do it for some time. The submarine was in fairly rough weather, but I'm pretty sure they'd assessed at that stage. However, the sea is very unpredictable, and it's a 1 in 100, the 1 in 7, in fact, is the basic of a slight change that caught them, and it was a very big wave that took them. It's hard to say you could have foreseen it. I definitely can't say they shouldn't have done it because I'm sure they would have taken the right precautions. I have heard people say, why weren't they wearing certain things and safety lines? Why didn't they have life belts? It's impossible to answer anything like that because you can have a safety line on. It could break. If 7 men go overboard, it could actually break the line. The idea also is on the upper deck of a submarine, you cannot get clear very quick. And if that wave came, even if they'd seen it, I doubt whether they would have had much different because you can't get into the boat other than going through a single little door up into the bridge and then down again. The other threat, of course, on a safety line is it can smash you against the hull. Now, this is not the first time. In 1981, we had 5 people washed off of one of our frigates. They were recovered. 4 of them were recovered alive, 1 drowned. Safety belt doesn't work in cases like that, or not safety belt, a safety line. And also, if you're only partially inflated, you can still drown without going underwater. So there is no guarantee that if they had done things, it would have been any different. It was very, very sad.
Another John sent me wave data from the Wave Rider buoy of Slankorp Lighthouse, and the graph shows that at 2:30, which is roughly the time that this was happening, there was a big set of waves of 10 meters high each coming through. So that's the freak size.
We have, in our waters, we're quite used to them now, the freak wave or abnormal wave. And that is a sudden hole in the ocean. And these happen. You can't predict them. We've also had a few of our ships that have been through them. I also went through one many years ago. It's terrifying, and it happens. It cannot be predicted. You cannot always say, oh, we can't do it, the weather's slightly off, because we have to do things in all types of weather. A VERTREP is a safety system for evacuating people and things, so all ships have to be current. And if you don't get time at sea, you don't get and a helicopter available. The Air Force are also very underfunded, so it's very useful when you can get together and benefit each side. But it's, as I said, I wasn't there, but I might well have made the same decision. I don't know. I can't tell you that.
Yeah. So I was thinking about the weather, and the sort of common comment was, in that weather, it shouldn't have happened. And I thought to myself, what's the point of doing an exercise like this with absolutely flat, calm seas? I mean, how much do you learn? Maybe if there'd been an awareness of just how big the waves might be at a particular time, there might have been a different thought. But the fact that the weather is bad, you've got to be able to do the vertical evacuation in all sorts of weather. So, was it really such a stupid decision to continue with the exercise?
Quite correct. In fact, we sometimes do these exercises stopped, but you don't get much out of it because anybody can do a thing in slow time alongside the harbour. So that's a very good reason for it. You have to do it under the real circumstances. And they did work for some time. It's very difficult to predict if something's going to go wrong like that. Very. And very sadly, just to mention it, one of the chaps who died, sadly, is one of your CapeTalk listeners who used to phone in quite regularly.
Oh, no.
So,
I mean, it doesn't make it any worse. It doesn't make the death
No.
of the others any less sad, but I didn't know that. Who was that, Arne?
chap called William Mathipa, he was the coxswain of the boat, a master warrant officer. But it's very sad because the ones we lost were very valuable members. One was a pioneering lady submariner. Very sad. And I just hope we learn. But I hope we don't give up on things like that. But it's the one thing I can say. I can't see anyone to blame per se. Decisions are made. You can't always be exactly accurate. And so I think once we get the real reasons, we'll learn from it. But the past, I'm quite sure we'll never quite stop it. Navy life is dangerous. The sea is a very dangerous enemy, worse than the enemy at times. So we just have to live with it.
Arne, I'm very glad that you agreed to talk to us this afternoon from your perspective as somebody who was in the Navy for quite a few decades and getting up to the position of Rear Admiral, flag rank and so on. So bringing that perspective, that experience, that insider knowledge to this has been valuable, I think. Thank you.